Sorry, wrong flute. But it's kind of the thematic elements of today's story. So, hey guys, what's up? It's BigJackFilms here, and welcome to another InuYasha V-Log, and this time we have another two-parter, which in Japan and to the fandom was declared a special episode when it aired back in like 2003, 2004, but when it comes to the reception, is very hit or miss. That, of course, being a title that a lot of fans like, which is called The Woman Who Fell in Love with Sesshomaru. Now, what does this episode entail exactly? Because that's a pretty interesting title. Well, let's take a look. So, this episode starts with essentially a lady of some little village, like some royalty, essentially dying and sort of suffering from some sort of illness, I guess. But then, when InuYasha and his comrades pass by, something in her snaps, and the whole place is set ablaze with everybody in it. So, kind of a weird start, but this is InuYasha in the feudal Japan where all this magic shit happens. So, it's interesting how that starts, and you're probably thinking, well, obviously her and InuYasha have a history. Is this one of his, like, third girlfriends or something outside of Kikyo and Kagome? But no, that's not the case at all. So we get a little bit of insight and flashbacks to this lady's history, but what happens is that this lady starts playing games with the group, and essentially, trying to steal Tetsaiga. Now, why would she want to steal Tetsaiga? Well, oddly enough, and it's kind of a coincidence that he was showing up, but Sesshomaru shows up, and you think, well, he's at it again, trying to steal the Tetsaiga from InuYasha because he thinks his brother is unworthy of the damn sword, the father's sword. Which, funny enough, actually this episode does open with a little bit of a recap of the brothers' rivalry, which again, I think this far into the show, especially for newcomers just coming in, is necessary to kind of give them a little bit of insight on the back history before they go back and watch those early seasons. But to the point, it's a nice little cut recap, which is really nice. The editing's pretty good on this episode. But you're probably thinking, why does this woman want to steal Tetsaiga for Sesshomaru? How did Sesshomaru know her? Where does all this come from? Well, believe it or not, it actually kind of stems back to the very first season. And this is interesting. So basically, during the events of the brothers for the Phantom Sword arc back in the first season, it was like the first few episodes past the first arc. It was the second arc of the show. If you guys may recall, they went into their father's tomb through InuYasha, the Black Pearl in InuYasha's eye. They went to the border of the Netherworld, found their father's grave, which he's this giant dog demon. They went in his stomach, and they pulled out Tetsaiga, you know, like Excalibur, Sword in the Stone, so sort of Arthurian stuff, which is pretty cool. And InuYasha was the one who was destined to have the sword after vowing to protect Kagome from his brother, who was in a full demon form. When InuYasha cut Sesshomaru's arm off, Sesshomaru went to retreat. Now, in the episode, we never know where he went. This episode does explain what happened, and it's kind of interesting. So, prior to all this, while that's all going on between the two brothers, you had this samurai lord of this village waging war with a rival faction. And the bloodshed was crazy, the carnage was nuts, and in the midst of it all, there was this lady, the lord's daughter, who played a flute and tried to bring peace, but nothing came about it. And the violence was pretty brutal for both of them. That is, of course, when Sesshomaru showed up. After being bested by InuYasha, his arm is gone, and he is in a bad frickin' mood because he just pops right into the midst of this battle, and he's looking at all these humans like, you all disgust me, you're all terrible, you are beneath me, I'm gonna kill every one of y'all motherfuckers. So he just unintentionally annihilates the entire rival army for the Lord. So the Lord sees this as, oh, you're awesome. Thank you so much. You are welcome to our kingdom we'll be your host. You may come and go as you please. But the whole time Sesshomaru is like, I don't give a fuck, okay? I'm just gonna go to a tree and lay there and pout about how my bastard brother got the sword and bested me. Meanwhile, the daughter had been watching Sesshomaru and what he was saying and, you know, listening to him carefully that he wants Tetsaiga, he wants to destroy InuYasha, and all this during the first season. And obviously the woman is like, ooh, he's kind of hot. I mean, I guess you could say she kind of represents the Sesshomaru husbando fan base, which I think is kind of clever. I mean, granted, nowadays, they're about as toxic as this woman here. I mean, because, you know, especially after Yashahime, I won't give any spoilers just yet, but you'll see why they turned on their sesh daddy, essentially. So, to the point, she steals Tetsaiga and is going to give it to Sesshomaru. Sesshomaru's like, nah, fuck you, I don't even know who you are. Be gone, thought. I don't even know who you are. I don't like humans. But however, you know, he doesn't kill her. He doesn't do any of that, and what eventually happens is that the reason the woman is so immortal and was able to survive the fiery stuff is because she's possessed by a demon, and a very powerful demon that actually did stem from Naraku from Mount Hakure. Again, I like that even though Naraku is back into hiding and reforging himself, his demons are fucking everywhere. They have been spreading across the land, and now it's just about pickups, like cleaning up the place. Unfortunately, we have to clean up some asshole's mess. So, InuYasha and Sesshomaru do team up to destroy this demon, but they don't want to kill the demon because the lady is still inside the demon, but she finally reaches out to Sesshomaru with whatever strength is left in a very eerie and sad scene. Like, basically the lady's telling Sesshomaru, please kill me, just kill me, end it, I'm suffering, just end it, kill me. So Sesshomaru does the trick with Tokijin, and the lady is killed in the process, dying and, you know, becoming, you know, one with the Force, I guess. And the episode ends on a sort of a character arc for Sesshomaru mostly that is sort of a trial on his relationship with humans and how much it's actually changed since the first season, because in the early seasons he hated them, detested them. They thought they were inferior, that he was a god, he was a king, he was entitled to his father's kingdom, that he was going to rule like a tyrant and become, you know, the emperor. And eventually what happens is that, you know, I think because of the likes of Rin and Kohaku and Kagome and stuff, he started to warm up to them. And in this case, you see much more a merciful Sesshomaru. Like, he still does detest humans, but he is willing to, at some point in this part of the story, show some mercy and show some humanity, which he's a demon. He doesn't have humanity. Even though he looks like a human, he's not. So he's shown essentially an arc that he has calmed down since his early days as a villain of the series. He's much more of an anti-hero at this point. And a lot of that was also sort of resolved by the third film, that these two brothers have kind of settled their differences slightly. They will later on, but they are still in conflict because they're both after the same enemy, but now they just fight about who gets to make the final kill on Naraku. And this episode sort of rectifies that and actually reminds us that, yes, Sesshomaru has finally shown some form of humanity and has been showing some mercy, that he's not this terrible, dictative megalomaniac that he dreamed to be. He's now settled down, which is a good thing. It's nice to see these enemies become essentially some of the heroes of the show and some of the best characters. But in regards to this TV special, this special episode that they, like, were promoting the hell out of when this came out, it's kind of not really living up to that hype, to be honest. Like, it's a good episode, don't get me wrong, it's a good special, but it's kind of average. Like, it's nothing special, it's stuff we've seen before, but it does add a dynamic with Sesshomaru that we haven't seen before. This episode was kind of underhyped in my opinion. I think it was hyped too much, but my expectations were kind of just, alright, it was average. I think at this point in the show's run, this was season 6, and this was the second last season before the show was about to end and, you know, unable to finish it. This was at the point probably that the show was starting to get a little desperate for ratings. The ratings were probably down. They needed a hit. They needed more attention to keep it going because they were still trying to catch up with Takahashi's manga, which he was still writing at the time. You remember sort of the context of why they were doing this, because at the time, Dragon Ball, the whole show's run in America had just ended. Like, it had already ended its run in Japan back in, like, the mid-90s, but Japan was getting a second win with Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT in America on Funimation in the 2000s, and at the same time, InuYasha was airing not just in Japan, but at this point in America. It was airing on Adult Swim and on Bionic Star on YTV. This was around like maybe 2002 they started airing it. So the show was getting pretty desperate to say, okay guys, we gotta pump out more episodes because America's gonna be asking for more, and we gotta keep putting this out. It's a huge hit in America, and so on. But also at the same time this was happening, I wanted to also, Naruto was airing simultaneously. Now, I have never watched Naruto. I know it's just Dragon Ball Z and InuYasha, which I think would be a perfect combination, but the problem is that it's too long, too tedious. I don't think I could ever sit down to watch it. But obviously, the anime boom was at peak at this point. There were so many animes coming out that were not only being shown in Japan, but being marketed in the US, because the US was demanding more anime. The boom had taken off at this point. So, this episode just felt like they were trying to capitalize on that by saying it's a special episode. And this season, the next two seasons in particular, actually did that a lot. They were really desperate for ratings. And I think that's overall why the show started to go downhill at this point. So it's interesting for this to be their sort of first attempt at trying to catch audiences into the show and bring them back in. And that's because in this series, there's a lot of two-parters in these next two seasons because they were really trying to get the attention. This episode also has some decent animation. It does rely a lot on clip show-based stuff that kind of tell the story and rehashes of storylines, which, again, is okay because it's been a while since we've seen a recap. But this one, again, I will admit, like, despite being average and despite being sort of meh, I did like it. In comparison to the Shippo Heart Scar episode, this is by far a billion times better. I did like this one. I did think it was needed to kind of add more to Sesshomaru's dynamics and his mercy and his character arc. And it's a good one. Did I think it needed to be a two-parter? No, it did not need to be a two-part episode. This could have been easily told in one. And unfortunately, I think because of time, they wanted to pad it out. They did that, and it kind of suffers in that regard. But I did like it. I would give this one probably like a 6 or 7 out of 10. Nothing too special, but it is still entertaining. It still adds more to the characters, and I did overall like it. So let me know your thoughts about The Woman Who Fell in Love with Sesshomaru in the comment section below. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Were you disappointed? Did you enjoy it? Did you feel that certain storylines in Yashahime should have followed through with this one? Let me know in the comments. I'm interested in the conversation, but don't forget to support our Patreon. Just $1 more will get you early access to all of our content, as well as other special features. So join us next time when... You know what? I don't know what's coming next. Again, this is sort of the new territory for me on the show. Despite me watching the show a lot growing up, this is where, in terms of what I know what's going to happen next, I have no fucking idea. So... we'll see you guys next time on whatever storyline we do cover next. But until the next video, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. This is BigJackFilms signing off saying, oh, I forgot to mention. So, a while back, I had a commenter say that, ask me my opinion on the whole, hey, what do you think of YouTube deleting channels that have been inactive? Now, for those who don't know, this is the second channel that we've done, but it became the main channel, evolving to it over time because of its success. My old channel that I started in 2007 is still active, but I use it for private production reasons and so on to work with people, so it's still active, so there's no worries there. However, I am considering that essentially my backup channel in case this one goes down for any particular reason, whether it be copyright strikes or some stupid bullshit that YouTube decides to pull. That will be my backup channel, so you could go subscribe to that. We're also thinking about doing a third channel just as a backup for, just random videos or whatever that we can't get monetized. But in case, again, this one goes down by any means necessary, I'm not saying this channel is going away, those are going to act as our sort of Dick and Harry. If you know The Great Escape of the Three Tunnels, Tom, Dick, and Harry, this is Tom, original channel's Dick, and then the third one's Harry. So we got something sort of flowing in case one, if the goons find one, we move into the other, essentially. So, again, just thought I'd let you guys know that, but until the next video, I'll see you guys later. BigJackFilms signing off saying, if you love your husbando, don't do crazy shit for them, because then you'll get Harley Quinn syndrome. That's all I gotta say until the next video. See you guys later. Take it easy.